for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any conversation about the minutes of the last meeting? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Motion has been passed, 5-0. Okay, public comment. We have one person that has filled out a paper here, Mr. Patrick McNabb. How are you?
I'm doing well. I am Pat McNabb, and I'm here to talk about the chicken ordinance.
Can you state where you live, please?
I live at 200 Adams Street here in beautiful Danville, Indiana. I listened to the video in my commute the other day. I was kind of surprised of the reaction from the council. There's a huge trend, self-sustenance in the country now due to the pandemic, this, that, and the other, gardening, raising chickens, whatever. You got enough acreage, cows, goats, whatever. But, you know, it is a trend, especially in these trying times. People have had chickens in this town for a long time, still do. You know, and I know you probably get some complaints, I don't know, but it's an ongoing thing. We're a rural community, 4-H Central. You know, it's kind of a no-brainer to me when Avon, Plainfield, Brownsburg, I was driving through Zionsville, me and the wife the other night, look over, $500,000 home, chicken coop in the backyard. So, you know, to me, it's a no-brainer to make it a little more accommodating. And the right to feed yourself, your family, your friends should be encouraged, accommodated by any reasonable authority, I think. That's my opinion. We had some support on a petition, the way I understand it, 600 and some odd signatures. I don't think you're going to have 600 and some odd people raising chickens in Danville. You're probably going to have 30 or 40, you know, but there is obvious public support for it. There was a great presentation presented to you all. I'm assuming you've all read it, understand it. Questions that have been addressed, I assume. And I echoed some of her points in that I was a little shocked by the threat of the fines and well, not really addressing down of the lady that was here. At the time, you questioned her child rearing capabilities and this, that, and the other. I'll tell you right now, animal husbandry is a great way to teach a child responsibility, accountability, a reward of feeding yourself, your friends, your family. Very rewarding. And we are 4-H Central. And I think it shouldn't be that complicated. We can draw a template from surrounding areas, look at everybody else's ordinances with some permits, fees, penalties. It all has to be established, monitored, and enforced by proper authority, which I believe we have an ordinance enforcement officer now, do we? Is that correct? Yeah. So I think that's pretty much everything I've got. Got any questions, comments, anything like that? All right. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McNabb. Okay. On to A, ordinance 2320, amendment to the phone snippet ordinance. Town manager, please.
Mr. President, this ordinance comes before you tonight. It is the first time you've seen it, but we are requesting a suspension of the rules and a passing tonight. This allows the code enforcement officer to participate in our phone stipend program. He would be at a level 2, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he'd be level 2. His work obviously will involve a great deal of being out of this premise, so we'd like to be able to provide him a phone stipend so that he can do his job.
Okay. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules?
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
I second that.
All in favor? Aye. Rules suspended. Any more discussion on this? So do I have a motion to pass ordinance 23, 2020?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Take the roll.
Greg Van Leer.
Aye.
Nancy Levitt. Aye. Tom Pato.
Aye.
David Winters.
Aye.
Chris Gerald.
Aye.
Motion has been passed, 5-0. You're welcome. B, ordinance 24, 2020, ordinance to establish a bond for police equipment. The clerk treasurer and police chief.
I'm going
With
to
Mr. Crone.
I'm going to stand in a little bit on this. So is Mr. Crone, police chief's coming before you tonight to request a GEO bond. This will replace our bond that I believe expires in January. Is that right, Buzz? And it's for new police equipment. This is how we, every year, or not every year, every 3 years to 4 years, fund new police vehicles. This bond's a little more expensive than normal, but the cost of vehicles has gone up. So this is just for a first read, so now would be a great time to ask any questions you might have, or?
Chief, how many vehicles are you anticipating purchasing?
We're looking at purchasing 10 right now.
And does that also include the outfitting of those?
Yes, this bond will cover all the equipment, any kind of lighting, computers, striping, anything you can think of. It's a total package for the bond.
Okay, thank you.
How many miles on these cars? when
Most
you
of
turn
these
them
are
in?
all 2015, Mr. President, and we're getting high mileage. My personal vehicle that I drive has got 96,000, so we're getting up in the 90s, somewhere in 100,000 miles.
So on top of that, you have these cars idling all day.
Yep.
So that motor runs more than that many miles.
Yes, sir. And then we're
Quite a
looking at
few.
maintenance issues with them being 2015 vehicles. We're starting to have maintenance issues, which cost more money and more
Sure.
money.
How many engines have you lost right now?
We have one engine that's went bad, and it's $11,000 to replace, so we can't do that. We got another one that's ticking, it's on its way out, and it's just a matter of time with this high mileage.
Chief, is there any, what are we doing with the older vehicles?
So we're going to we'll trade some in. I
Okay.
think we're trading 7 or 8 in, and we're doing pretty good on the trade-in values. We got some preliminary numbers back. It looks like, and don't hold me to this, but I think it was 80,000 on trade-in, so
Okay.
it's not real bad. And right now, the used car market, anybody that's trying to find one, it's hot. So we're getting a good deal with the bonds, and right now with the pricing on the vehicles, it's a good time to buy.
Where do we get the vehicles from?
We're taking bids from a couple different places,
Okay.
but usually we get them from Dodge. It's the cheapest.
Yeah, okay.
This says bond to purchase new police vehicles and related equipment. What's an example of a related equipment?
So related equipment would be radios. So all of our radios that we have need to be flashed over. The Hendricks County Communications Center has went to an encrypted system. We don't have an option on this. We have to basically flash them over. It's a couple $100 per radio. It's a Band-Aid to get us through for another 5 years is what I've been told. And then we'll have to look at get some new radios.
It'll also include lights, sirens,
Right.
the mounts for the computers. I mean, it's all encompassing. And Mr. Winters, another thing that I believe, if Chief Hilton, if I'm wrong, let me know, but they're going to keep a couple of vehicles back in case they do have a vehicle that breaks down. That way, that's
Okay.
what the cars out here are for. And then, of course, they're starting a reserve program that they'll need a couple extra cars for that as well.
Okay.
Now, are all these dealerships local that you're getting bids from, or are some of them out of state?
They're all local in Indiana, central Indiana.
Okay.
And Dodge just happens to be the state bid, the cheapest price of vehicle we can possibly get, so.
Okay.
Most anything that's done through the state QPA is usually going to be based in Indiana.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I might just add that the parameters that are in the bond ordinance before you tonight would authorize a not to exceed $475,000 bond issue. Will end up being about $430,000 is but we wanted to leave a little cushion in case some other things, materialize. But that does include the flashing for all the police and the fire radios. So the maximum term on the bond will be 4 years, but realistically, we're going to be about 3 years and 2 months. We've already made contact with the local bank. We have to go through a competitive process to issue a bond issue. But we want to make sure we're going to have a friendly bidder come to the table, and we believe we have that. And we're expecting terms in somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.25%, somewhere in that range. But that'll be subject to the receipt of bids.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
It was the first reading, so we won't be voting on it. C, ordinance 25-2020, ordinance to establish a bond application note for wastewater project.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We mentioned in the master planning that some of the sewer collection system is over 100 years old. And in our master planning, we had some priority projects to go ahead and start replacing those 100-year-old sewers. So this bond anticipation note is very favorable to the town. It allows us to pay back some of the work we've already done, engineering. It's flexible. We may only borrow $1 million. We may borrow more, depending on how much money we can get from the developers that are currently looking at the town. I didn't know if you wanted to speak or.
Again, this is just first read. Now's a good time to ask questions if you have them, and Buzz is here, and we can try and answer anything we can.
I can just say a couple of things about the bond ordinance for the wastewater utility. This would be a revenue bond. It doesn't have anything to do with property taxes. It'd be solely from the revenues of the wastewater utility. We've already been through the rate ordinance adoption process and have those. We've put a 3-phase step up in that we have a maximum parameter in the ordinance of up to $7 million. But we're not going to issue the bonds right away. We're going to do what's called a bond anticipation note. And we've, again, been talking to a friendly local bank, but we'll also be, looking for other. We can actually negotiate the sale of those, and because of the nature of the bond anticipation note, having that relationship is going to be important with the lender, because we would like to have authority to draw down maybe $4 or $5 million, depending on what we end up having, which projects move forward, but we don't need all that. Right now, we just need about $1 million to jumpstart the design engineering and some of these initial projects. But and if we get up into that $4 or $5 million range, we'll be flipping that to a longer-term bond issue. But for right now, we're still going through the negotiations with development and developers, and we're hoping to get some cost sharing going there. But these other projects are the 100-year-old sewers that need to be upgraded. Those would be the priority projects.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Buzz, real quick, I'm sorry. You said $7 million, but in here it says $6 million. It's just.
Is that what we put in there? $6 million, yeah. $6 million is really the most we can do with the rates that we've adopted thus far.
Okay.
I apologize.
No. I just wanted some clarification on that.
Yeah,
So.
it's $6 million. I apologize.
Okay. That's all right. Thank you.
Any more comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Request to use town property for a wedding, town manager.
That I come before you tonight with a request from one of our citizens to utilize the train rail bridge. If you're familiar with the one I'm talking about, it's next to the fire station, not the one with the big trestles or anything. It's the smaller one that we'd actually had put there years ago. She's wanting to use it for a wedding ceremony. I included some pictures in your packets of another community that had a wedding ceremony on the bridge. It looks pretty neat. I've talked with our insurance agent, no issues there. Talked with our attorney, no issues there. Public Works, I think the goal is they would like to be able to park actually in Public Works. They want to come down, us open up the gate, not the one to the Public Works building, but the one that goes down the trail, so that they can park and unload all their chairs and stuff. They don't plan on being there long. They're looking at about an hour or so to conduct the ceremony and then pick everything up, and the reception is going to be elsewhere. I think it's kind of a neat use of the structure, to be honest with you. So come before you tonight to seek approval to utilize the bridge for this project.
So Mark, when was the last time that was used properly? Like,
As an actual bridge, I mean,
Yeah.
Public Works utilizes it. I don't see Public Works in here, but they use the mowers across there, right, Rob?
is that why it was made, or was it made for another reason?
Part of our trail system initially, and
We never got the DNR grant. We had a couple property owners that wouldn't let us come through their backyards.
right. But I will say that Assistant Town Manager Lacey has some ideas for that bridge in the future, and they're intriguing. You talk about, he's way
that's good
outside the box. I mean, just way out. But if we can get it done, it'll be fabulous for the town.
So is that bridge, I'll say town property or Parks property, or what is that?
I believe the town rehabbed the bridge. Rob probably knows a little bit more on that. That was before my time. But I think the town rehabbed it. Actually, Betty may know. County rehabbed it.
Because it's on the National Register of Historic Places.
Several years ago, the county rehabbed that bridge through a grant that they had received, and they partnered with the town that we would take over that bridge. And actually, that bridge has never seen vehicle traffic on it, other than the Public Works Department using it to get to the east side of town with small equipment.
The reason I ask if it's Parks or town is because I walked that bridge this afternoon, and I mean, it seems very structurally sound, but I mean, it does look like we've neglected it, there's a bunch of leaves and overgrowth and things like that.
Person requesting understands the condition, and she's willing to go down and help clean it up.
Sure. I think maybe we might look at providing a little help.
Manage that, sir.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, do I have a motion?
I'd make a motion to allow the structure of the bridge to be used for an upcoming wedding.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Courtney?
Greg Van Leer,
Aye.
Nancy Levitt.
Aye.
Tom Pato.
Aye.
David Winters.
Aye.
Chris Gerald.
Motion has been passed 5-0.
Thank you very much. I'll let the citizen know that she's been approved for her wedding.
E, appointment to Planning Commission.
Mr.
Now,
President, this is all on you.
I know, but I just want to ask you, any more resumes or anything in?
No, sir. Got 2 resumes, Ronnie Dean Atnip and Jill Howard. And both brought their certifications in, showing that they are of the Democratic Party and met all of our obligations.
So you can notify Jill Howard, she's got the job.
Sir. And I'll notify Mrs. Atnip that we did appreciate her applying.
Greg, you have any comments?
Just since the last council meeting, I had attended the Plan Commission meeting on the 10th, attended Brian Everling's retirement party, attended the Redevelopment Commission meeting, and I just wanted to let the council know that, we had an outstanding issue or outstanding activity with the RDC, and that was naming a council representative to help in identifying property for annexation. And after a discussion with the council president, I informed the RDC that I'll be the representative to fill that.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Attended the BZA meeting on Monday, and we all received a letter about a zoning concern, so I figure maybe that's something for us to discuss. And then my only other question for staff was with the budget meeting being canceled on Saturday, if we have a makeup day.
I'll be sending emails out to the council probably either tomorrow or Friday with a rescheduled date. I do believe, and after talking with the council president, that we can probably do this in a much more condensed work study, probably get it done in about a 2-hour period, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Welcome. Nancy?
Last evening, I was in the park, and David Winters and Chris Gerald were there also, and right down at the bottom of this path that's outside here is a new sign commemorating this path to Steve Johnson, who taught at Danville for almost 40 years. And it's really appropriate that he is honored this way, because he told me that during the school year between his phys ed classes and coaching after school, he would go up and down that path 7 times a day. And finally, about 5 years before he retired, they got him a golf cart. So I didn't have to go up 7 times a day, but I did have to go down and do phys ed down there in the park because I went to high school here in this building. And then we had to run back up the hill because you got in big trouble if you were last. So then we would run in one of these doors out here to go up to the shower area where the girls' gym is, and that's another story. But anyway, that's a lot of stories. Right, Betty? Yeah. And so anyway, it was a great honor for him, and there were a lot of people down there. It was really nice.
Thank you, Nancy.
Yeah, I agree. That was a very nice ceremony Monday night. So congratulations, Steve Johnson. Well deserved. Just one quick question on the budget meeting. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think our initial draft is due September 1st with the state of Indiana. Perhaps the attorney can confirm that. And if it is, are we going to make that deadline?
You are on track to meet the deadline.
Okay.
Anna has had discussions, and I know that Jenny has had discussions with DLGF to get the proper paperwork in order. So they have all of that calendared out and are in good shape.
Thank you.
Is that it? I would just like to make a couple comments. A couple things that I would like to have further discussion on is the speed limit change on 200. We don't have to have this discussion now, but just want to get it out there. And then the chicken ordinance. I'd like to maybe revisit that from a different angle. So that's all I got.
You want to comment about that 30-mile-an-hour limit?
The 30-mile-an-hour limit, if you recall the last meeting, I came to you all seeking consensus. The request was made from a citizen based on complaints that they felt the speed limit was too high, and their reasoning was that the entrance to the fairgrounds was right there. We had the entrance to Whisperwood, and there is on the east side of the road, I think tomorrow, we're meeting with a developer that's looking at another possible subdivision just north of there, across from the fairgrounds. So that was the concern. The speed limit was 50 when it was a county roadway. We absorbed the road. It was just never changed. Our ordinances didn't specify it as a 50, which allowed us the opportunity to switch it back to a 30, and that's why we chose that.
Okay. I just think 30's a little slow. You're coming off of a 40 onto a 30 and then back onto a 40. And if you notice that right in front of Kroger's 45. So it doesn't hit 35 until you get to darn near the park. So just something to think about.
Right. Okay.
Well, didn't you tell us last time that was a matter of town ordinance, that the speed limit had to be that low?
We have the luxury of putting that low, yes.
So we could move it without changing an ordinance?
No, if we change it from there, we have to change the ordinance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we actually have, I think it's in Schedule 73, I can't remember, I'm sure you don't know off the top of your head, but that's where there are alterations to whether it be our parking, like when we changed the parking on Wayne Street, that schedule had to be changed. Anytime we change or deviate the speed limit from what the urban, I guess they call it urban speed limit, which is 30, then we have to include it in one of our, in fact, Will's going to pull it up right now. It should be speed limits.
Well, while he's pulling that up, I know several years ago, we raised the speed limit down by the park on Columbia Street from
Yes.
25 to
Or
30?
20 to 30.
20 to 30.
Yeah, it was lowered from 30 to 20, and I don't remember why Chief decided to change it. Do you have any idea why Chief Gill changed that? I don't. Okay, yeah, that was under Chief Gill's administration. But that tells, right there, it shows you what any deviations from the 30 that we have. And as far as 36 is concerned, that's a state roadway. We don't set those standards, I'm sorry. Yeah.
A lot of 40s and 20s.
Yeah. Again, 30 is basically the default for our streets.
And if you want to have a discussion about speed limits and things of that nature, my recommendation, especially if you're talking about what is the appropriate speed limit, my recommendation is that you get a traffic study completed that comports with the MUTCD. And then I think the standard there is you want to be around 5 miles an hour variance of the 85th percentile. I mean, there's this whole thing that engineers go through to determine what the free flow of traffic should be in that area, and then gives you a range to park that speed limit within. I know it's going to be additional cost to get the engineering done for that, but that puts to rest any guessing, and then it also alleviates the town of any possible liability moving forward if you have a speed limit that is vastly different than the MUTCD would recommend, and possible claims arising out of that. So you have that layer of liability coverage by following it.
And you can see under the, right there, Will's highlighted that, again, our default speed limit is 30 miles an hour by ordinance. So, I just didn't want you to think we made it up. We don't do that.
All I got.
Oh, you got? Will, you have anything?
Our amphitheater's going good, trails started today, and sign possibly next week. So everything's happening at the same time.
After speaking to you today, I thought about moving the pool up by the road so we get advertisement. We do have to compete with those other towns. Mark will do that. Okay, Mark, it's your show.
Well, I received a phone call from Dick Wicker. He said he doesn't live in the town, but we've done work with his company, and he was very complimentary of the work we've been doing on the sidewalks. So he wanted to make sure that you all knew that. I don't know. I don't know if I did the right thing, wrong thing here. As you know, Ray and Ralph Whitaker's mom passed away some time ago. I sent $50 to the fairgrounds on behalf of the town, but they sent a nice thank you note. So they sent it to my house, but I did send it on behalf of the town, just so you know. So, department heads, you should have the police department's packet in your packet. They are testing for sergeants tomorrow. Today. I knew it was somewhere in that area. The water department's been working on a 6-inch main on East Street. They've been doing some test wells. He got one test well result back today. It wasn't very good, so he's got some others that he's still testing. He was very excited. I'll go back. If you recall, in a work study we had in March, we talked about the fountain. And right now, he's having trouble finding anybody that will work on that old fountain. It's a situation where it's either replace or I don't know what we do. So my thought is we keep it down until next year and we can figure it out when we start looking at some other options. But he was very excited that this week, all of the meters in the town of Danville have been replaced and they're now radio read meters. So he was very excited about that. Wastewater, Jerry's been working on a fee booklet with the department heads and O.W. Cronin Associates so that when a developer comes in and they want to know what's it going to cost to build in our town, we've got a booklet. And then we talked about some revisions to it so where we can make it open-ended, and depending on the number of acreage, we can tell them, okay, this is specific to your project. So if you have 130 acres, this is what it'll cost. If you have 400 acres, this is what it'll cost. So hopefully it'll help out a great deal when builders come in. Stormwater, Barry's still working on that massive sinkhole at Clinton in Indiana that your friend brought to your attention, and you sent it to me. He's working on some erosion control out on Commerce Park, and he's been very busy at the Woodland Terrace, the Justice Corporation. They're starting to request inspections on a much higher level now that they're getting multi-units in, so he's been very busy. Parks Department I think, has given you everything there. Fire Department, they've started taking donations for their Safe Haven baby box. They have 1,012 runs for the year. They were notified by Danville Rotary that the Rotary will match donations up to $5,000. So it's a good start for his project. Administration, we're working on grants. We're still working on some of the COVID-19 grants, and then we're starting to work on some other. Malin is now in grant training, so we've got her in classes to start working on grants. Public Works has been working on patching, some storm cleanup. They did some work, obviously, with the concert. We've started work for landscaping out front. They're doing some traffic control for our project on 150 East, and they're putting more electronic signs up. And then if the council will grant me a minute, I'd like to introduce one of our newest employees, if I may.
Please do.
All right, thank you. Blaine, you want to come on up? My pleasure to introduce Blaine Rout. Blaine is our code enforcement officer, and Blaine comes to us with a plethora of knowledge from his experience at Indianapolis, Bloomington, and Pueblo, Colorado. And so I wanted to have an opportunity to introduce him. We've been putting him to work from day one. We've got him a desk in the bathroom, and no, we did find him a place to have a desk. And I think he's meshing with the rest of the staff pretty well, and I'll let him say anything that he would like to say. And I'm sure he has a proud parent here who'd like to take a picture.
Evening, everybody. Glad to be here. So yeah, I'd just like to introduce myself, Blaine Rout. So like I said, or like Mark said, I've done this for many years before. I hope I can draw on my experience with Marion County and a little bit of outside experience from Colorado, and maybe mesh something together, make our enforcement process a little more efficient, and hopefully take care of the issues here in the city. And I just want to extend my door, anytime, any questions, I'm here, so good to be here.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome to Danville.
How do you want to do this?
I'd throw that picture away.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, yes, absolutely. He did want me to let you know that if you do choose to legalize marijuana, he does have experience in that.
I have a question.
Work study. Oh,
Sorry. Okay, so we all probably get texts from neighbors and friends, hey, I've got this issue, who do I call? When it comes to a code enforcement issue, should we just direct that to you? Because I don't like reaching out to each of the departments when there's a question. So how do you want us to handle that?
Decision. I'm happy to forward the information to Blaine. We've had a couple of those. We had one last week, and he went and addressed it. And,
Okay.
And,
The one that I talked to you about?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he took care of it. So I forgot to get back with you. Sorry about that.
All good.
But yeah, please feel free to reach out to me. And I'm certainly not a micromanager. If you want to reach out to Blaine, that's your call. He's got email now. So we were using a cup and strings for a while, but I think we're good to go. So.
Mark, we like going through you. You know what's happening.
Yeah.
Keep your finger on the pulse.
Yes, sir. I'm happy to do it.
He has a danvilleindiana.org
Yes,
email address?
That's
Okay.
correct. Yep. And the last thing I have, I think all of you received an email from Amy Houston from Emergency Management. I've been in touch with the EMA director, and it is important that at least one of you attend one of these sessions. I know it's probably not the most convenient thing, but the reason being is if one of you don't attend, they want someone who has the ability to be a decision maker as far as when it comes to ordinances, and will be able to sign off on this plan. And the reason that isn't so important is if a disaster does come through, and Hendricks County has this mitigation process, we will not be included. And we can petition in, make no mistake, but we may be looking at an additional 30 days by the time we get something passed. So they asked that it would be very important if someone could take the time to be at this meeting. I will be there. I've done these.
Is it the meeting on August 31st?
It is, sir.
I plan to attend.
Okay. Is that good for everybody then? If Chris will represent all of you?
Chris is our safety man. I think that's appropriate.
That's perfect. Thank you very much. That saves me a lot of pleading and begging. I appreciate it.
You can take Rob.
And I'll be there as well, as I'm sure Chief Roberts will be. I've attended those things for 30-plus years, so I'll be happy to go as well. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the claim dockets?
I'll make a motion to approve the claim docket.
Have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Everybody approve? Yeah? Aye. The claim docket has been approved, 5-0. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Everybody approve?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting has been adjourned. Thank you very much.